Good morning, everybody. It's Marty the JavaScript Party. My buddy Rhett. There you go, girl. Oh man, so here we go. It's the start of a new day. What is August 12th, 2026. 18 days left in the month. That's 3 sets of 6. A little bit more than 2 weeks. Well, closer to 3 weeks than 2 weeks. But if there's anything you're trying to get done in August, you're almost halfway through. So time to get a poppin'. Um, all right, so here we are. We're getting our dimension. We created a interface, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that will have our edit dimensions that are specifically for edit. The word edit and update are sort of like in battle right now. It looks like edit is starting to win in that. So now we have this interface. At this point in time, this interface is living in the update layout service. I think it's going to have to get promoted to probably an app layout set of interfaces. And it does look like we already do have interfaces for um, that. So, oh, update settings. So yeah, actually, this is like the perfect place to do that. You know what? This is a good time to do that. It's a good time. Good times. So I'm gonna grab that because I just 100% know through experience that we're gonna want that same interface to exist over at um, like in other parts of this layout, but I don't want that interface to ever leak outside of update. Um, so uh, I feel like this is a good place to put it too. It's like right in update settings. And it kind of looks like we should definitely add an export. And then now that we're here, it looks like, well, we really should also um, add whether it's presentation. And of course, I misspelled presentation. So let's go ahead and fix that. This is one of those things where, like in some technologies, it's just very difficult to make changes like this. Like maybe some system is already running, and that already running system is um, presentation. And then that our other running system has already created some configuration and everything's built out and a bunch of like there's this concept called an ORM, which is an object representation model, I think, and it's used like in databases with apps where a lot of like if you set this object, this ORM up, it'll automatically build out like all your tables and stuff like that. In some situations like that, where like a lot of times it will only do it the first time and all that, then when you go to try to change like these names, it can be really, really um, very difficult to fix to update without it causing like a lot of other problems down the road. Um, so it's a real pleasure to be able to just go, oh, I misspelled that, and then fix it. That's like very, very nice. Hit save. And here it looks like we have another one. Oh yeah, this is. So that was what we got this problem because we just moved it. So when we moved it over into the interfaces folder, that happened. All right, so now, but the problem is we also want to now. Now that I'm here, I'm like, whoa, I need to add my update presentation. So I guess it's called presentation mode. And I think for now I'm going to make it an optional thing. Um, I don't know if it needs to stay optional, but I will undo the optional as soon. Like if I recognize that no, I always need this, then I'll undo that like instantly. But for now. I'll leave it where that is something that can be added. Right, what's the problem? Did you mean presentation mode? Yes, that is what I meant. So in the service. Yeah. That is that. See something here. All right, so now we have updated our presentation mode. Now we have this, and I think it will end up being a required field. Um, but I don't want to get like go down that rabbit hole at the moment. But so this is going to be a problem um, because it doesn't have the presentation mode. And I'm not exactly sure how it's going to get the presentation mode. But again, like right now, we're getting this, but we need to get this information from a signal too. So now we know. Oh, and actually, it's going to have to know if it's min max mode because this is this is only if we're in max mode. But if we're in min mode, then it's the configured value. Now, what's interesting, because what I was just thinking out loud is by default it automatic, or just thinking internally in my internal dialogue is, well, by default it kind of would go to the width of the of the image. So what I could do is I could just set the width somehow. Like I could go down that path of setting the width and then letting this thing just do its thing. The problem is I am hiding logic that way. So I'm saying somewhere else, this is all had to just go with the view of the width. But like getting the image dimensions would probably be a good place to have like the explicit logic, some explicit logic that explains, hey, I want to get the width and I want to get, if I'm not in max mode, I want to get the configured width and not the offset width. So that's good, right? That would be really good because then it's very clear, like when you're reading the code, what it's about. But it's bad too, because it's bad in that, in all likelihood, it's going to cause me to end up with like a duplication of um, of code. Like I'm gonna have to watch out to not have that same logic built in someplace else. So um, so I have to sort of balance it, which usually that just means that, hey, you just need to get a function and use that function to get it. But you got to also remember when you do that, where there are other place that you ever need this in the future, that you get that there. But again, once we won't really know where the where the right place to put that logic is until we've um, I know it's going to be in this somewhere in this folder and I don't want it to be outside of this folder, but I don't know if like if where it's going to be in within this. There's some it is not it's not a single component um, system there. It's a multi-component with multiple services. So that's kind of the thing is like there's something we just won't know. We just won't know for sure until after that. So we're gonna I'm gonna inject the code right in here. Now this is one of those moments. Okay, I just had it where I was like, damn, it'd be nice to have unit tests. Um, because if I had unit tests right now, um, I could say, okay, well, whenever this complex spaghetti code, when I go through unit testing, I'm going line by line. That's when I'll break it down into smaller units. Um, so I don't have enough information to know where the smaller units should be at this point. And so I'm gonna make so I don't want to make that decision yet. So I'm going to add that code in here in hopes that whenever the other place is that I need this logic, Once those start to present themselves, then I'll know. Then at that point, I can make some central, like, do I need to create like an update layout utilities that has things like that? I just don't even know. Like it's impossible to know right now. We just don't know enough. So that's hard. Uh, and I would say like that entire thought process would happen inside my brain in like less than a tenth of a second if I wasn't trying to put human English words to all of this. But all right, so I need to determine a step. Determine where, determine what the mode is. And we know the mode is I'm just going to call it mode now. So mode is very, I don't know, min-max mode. And it's not, it's conf max mode. And we know that that is of, what the heck? We know that it is of type here, and it just kind of got lucky because we happened to be like, I just decided, um, to, um, like check in my interfaces, check to see if I had an interfaces folder. I'm going to say that by default we're maximized. Now, I want to call directly to whatever it is. I don't want to like then go like if config max then check or something like that. So is there a way in here? Does this guy know? So here we have this get mode from route information. Okay, so that is definitely a different mode. Because it's saying that up in my oh, is it not compiling? I thought it was transpiling. Have I not fixed it? Okay, I did. Oh, okay, so the mode we're talking about here is the layout mode. Mode not conf. That's confusing, and that was probably why I shouldn't have called this mode. I wanted to call it mode. I was like, hey, why not? It's the only mode we have, but it actually isn't the only mode we have. We also have a um, layout mode, and so right now and actually there's no reason not to call this layout mode. And that's one of the nice things about like this block level. So if this was a var, it was like that in regular JavaScript. The problem is this concept called hoisting. And so at this point, it would have been hoisted. And that means when we change the name, some other part that we're completely unaware of may be using that. And it would be very difficult to like, it's very possible that you could just accidentally create some kind of just out of even something outside, not like if this was like a jQuery or a regular JavaScript script, even something in some other script might be depending on that mode, that variable being up hoisted. Um, and yeah, so unintended side effects was just the biggest problem um, uh, for JavaScript in general. Okay, so now, and here's another really good example where it's like, okay, so mode made a lot of sense, but now it doesn't make any. Now it's confusing, and there'll never be a time then right now that'll be easier to fix this. Now, if I was, and this is something that you only get to do because I only get to do this because I'm the only one working on this code right now. So like if I was working with other people, I could really be screwing people over by changing these function names. Um, like I can make my change, and some other person is coding away changing things, and then they could be dependent on this name. And since they didn't change anything in this code, when they go Git will never catch that they just broke that I just broke somebody else's code that they're actively working on in some other branch. Um, but since I'm working by myself, I can do that. Now, if this was a private, right? Like if the thing I just changed to layout mode was a private, then I could change it. It would be no big deal. And if somebody was like, "Oh, I want to use this," and they would, if they got rid of it being called private, then it would, like they removed the private, then it would work. But if they decided to create another public function or something in there and use your private function and you just change the name, then you just broke them. So, like you got to just really take a bit of time in that situation and think to yourself, okay, is this going to mess somebody else up? Okay, so we have our presentation mode signal. So that is the current presentation mode. So, and normally I could just hit undo and get myself right back to where I wanted to be, but since I made some other changes on the way, so theoretically this should just fit together, right? I should be able to say this. I think. I think this is fine. I don't know that I've done this too often. All right, so that is our presentation mode signal, and the nice thing is that it didn't choke on the fact that um, it can only provide, this thing will only accept a presentation mode. So that gives me like a bit of a warm fuzzy. So now at this point I can say if, and I like that name better, right? So I could say like this, if presentation mode, and then I could say if that is equal to maximized, then, well, okay, so actually it's if it's configured, then we need to take width and height to um, configured. And I don't even know what this is going to do exactly. Um, and then figured height, and then so this is where we're going to reset them based on whatever it's configured, not based on the width and the height of the screen. Um, Now, additionally, I don't really need this. Well, I kind of need this because, well, I don't. I don't really need this because I can just say like here. What was it? Let's go look at our thing. Presentation mode. So since this is the only place we're using it, this is actually a good time to lock that in. Presentation mode. Presentation mode. Colon. Here. And we'll just grab it right there. And now we have the presentation mode available. I don't know if we'll need it, but available. Now, again, one of the huge things that to keep in mind is that I don't need to, at this point, I don't need to store um, and reuse the presentation mode stuff. I only want to store and reuse the stuff that describes the actual visualization. I don't care about the update stuff. So I don't really have to think twice of like, oh, I'm not going to be able to export this very easily because it's getting a signal. And maybe that's not even right. Maybe that's not even a good concern. Um, but it's something to think about. Like exporting and importing sounds so simple because they're just so easy, conceptually so easy to explain, but they're not. So, anyways, we're going to need to, this is the next step. Okay, so next, determine how to get the data. All right, so that is a good place to start off next. So, happy coding, everybody. Just so you know, just in case somebody made it to the end, basically, when we hit this button, let's see, let me go back to this view here. Add. When we hit this button here, we're going to want this thing to show as it would, like so basically the way it does here. So this is configured to show up in this left corner, right? Like this second one. If I add a second one and I hit update and then I hit this button, I'd want to show up right there because that's where that is in this layout, right there. So the one that is spinning around the y-axis, right? It's spinning like this. That's the one that needs, it would show up in this second spot, and that's the whole idea. And this with that height and the width that it was there. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.